Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with Jack Barteck. This is episode 31 and today we are going to be interviewing Billy Quach, who is a content creator for the NFL and works closely with the Kansas City Chiefs. He is a winner of 2 Grammys and it is a pleasure, of 2 Emmys, and it is a pleasure to have him on the podcast today. So we just want to ask you, how are you doing? How's your day today?
Dude, I'm doing good. How's it going? I'm just chilling right now, playing some video games, but new week, so excited for that.
What video game are you playing?
I was just going to ask the same thing.
I'm playing Rust. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a PC survival game, and it's a lot of fun. You basically start off on the beach naked with a rock, and you work your way in and start building weapons and start killing each other.
It's the life of a creator.
Oh yeah. gotta get my creative juices flowing somehow.
So one of the first questions I want to ask you, this has been on my mind for a while.
Yeah.
Because how crazy it is just to be around Patrick Mahomes almost all the time.
Honestly, it's not that crazy, and I'm no longer around him as much as people would probably think. So yeah. I used to work for the Chiefs for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I probably saw him a little bit more then than I do now. But now I just work game days for the NFL as a part of the LCC program. Mm-hmm. So I only really see him on game days. And this season is different because it's because of COVID. So I don't even, really get to see him at all because I'm not really allowed to go to like the player entrances for arrivals or on the field, like next to them. I'm just kind of stuck in the stands shooting from there. So this season's a little different. But normally in a non-COVID world, I'd be, following him as he enters the stadium, following him on the field, shooting wherever he goes.
Yeah.
So he knows who I am, and he would definitely recognize me out and about.
It's a calm
flex. It's a little crazy, but really it's not, just because I've been with the Chiefs for 2 years. I got to the Chiefs the same year he got to the Chiefs. So like he wasn't really as big back then as he is now. So like I'm kind of used to it, and it is what it is.
So my question, the first question that comes to mind for me is, with the COVID situation right now, how much different is your experience, and how did you go about getting into a rhythm as opposed to a normal year?
Yeah, this year is definitely a lot different than normal years shooting at games. I was, surprised and just thankful that I could still shoot the game. I thought maybe there's a chance that they wouldn't give me access because I knew that they would limit a lot of people's access. And leading up to the season, I didn't know what that looked like. And I didn't really, not that I don't care, but I didn't really care if I wasn't given any access at all, because this isn't my full-time job. It's just kind of like a side gig. And I knew it's just only going to be this season, and we'll be back to normal next season. So I wasn't too worried, but it was a lot different. We've done 2 home games so far, and they've been the complete opposite of a normal game day. As I already mentioned, I'm stuck in the stands, shooting from the first row, which is artistically not the same as being on the field because you're at a higher angle. Mm-hmm. So that part, I'm down about. A lot, if you guys watch my videos, a lot of my shots need to happen like right next to the players. Like I get up close and personal as much as I can, as much as the access allows me, without breaking any rules. But I try to get up and close with the players to get their emotion, their sound bites, what they have to say, if they say anything, or just the look on their eyes. But this season with COVID, I can't even do that. I can't get anywhere near them. I'm just shooting at a distance with a long lens, and that's kind of the whole game is just me shooting from the stands. So Um, I'm not as pumped about this season as I am previous seasons. I'm kind of just going through the motion right now and just trying to make it until next season, or make it until they give me access to the field, because it's not the same.
What type of lens do you use pre-game and post-game?
So pre-game, I'm on a Ronin with a 16 to 35 millimeter, so it gives me a wide angle of view. Same with post-game.
Mm-hmm.
During the game, I'm on a 70 to 200 to get the action from the sidelines.
And the camera that you use right now is what?
I currently use a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of another thing with this season, with access being limited. I'm only using a Canon EOS R5 for this season, only because it's easier to get the footage off of it. Since I can't go to the media room,
mm-hmm.
which is our normally we have a media room down the tunnel, and I could have my laptop out set up, and that's where I go to export my footage from my Blackmagic. But since COVID, they've restricted kind of where we're allowed to be. So the media room is not where it's normally at, and it just doesn't make sense for me to go to where it's now located.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to use a camera that's a little bit more mobile, and that's another reason I'm kind of just marking off this season, because my footage, it doesn't look as good as it normally does, because I'm using a different camera.
So I'm just recently trying to get into videography. Like, I just bought a Sony A6400.
Yeah, that's dope. That's awesome.
And I wanted to ask you, what did you do at first to practice and to really get better at shooting? Because most of the time I'm just at the house, I'm like, how can I get better? Because I'm not the type of person to just go drive around and look for places to shoot or take pictures of or videos of.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's a lot of aspiring creatives get stuck on, is like, how, now I have this camera, but like, how do I work on it? How do I practice? How do I get better? My big thing is, when I was starting out, I would basically say yes to any opportunity to shoot. If my friends wanted to go do something, if my friends had an idea, if my friend's sister had a wedding, or if my, like, I don't know, we would just run around. I was in college when I started, so there was just a lot going on then. And how I kind of fine-tune how I practiced in college shooting sports is, I started filming for my Quidditch team, and started filming Quidditch tournaments and collegiate Quidditch tournaments. Whenever we would go play, I would play like normal, and then during our breaks, I would grab the camera and just film and edit hype videos. And that's kind of how I started getting into shooting and filming sports and making sports look hype. Because like, if you can make Quidditch look hype, you can make friggin' NFL football look hype.
Hype videos, they're so hard to make. Like, because I see the
tough
effects, and it's like, for me, people put out these hype videos on Instagram that are like a minute long, and people don't understand that those hype videos take about like days of work to create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's insane. It's super hard, to get good at, but it's just something you got to work at, and you just got to kind of, over time. I mean, my first videos weren't that phenomenal as compared to now. Like, it's taken 6 years for me to get to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just been a bunch of practice. And just what I tell people now, like, when people ask me that question, like, how do I practice? Like, go to your local park and see if there's a soccer practice going on, see if there's a lacrosse practice going on. Like, go up and ask the coach, hey, is it all right if I practice? I'm a aspiring filmmaker. I'm just trying to get some reps in. Can I film your team? Are they okay with it if I film y'all practicing, and then I'll send y'all the video after I make an edit, and you guys can do whatever you want with it, but I'll do it for free. And like, you do that once, you do it a couple more times, then you take that experience and you bring it to your local under 19 soccer league and say, hey, can I film your tournaments? I'll make hype videos, and you could use that to recruit more soccer players. And and then maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. They say no. If they say no, you go on to the next league, you go on to the next team, and do the same thing. And then eventually, you just get a reel of that stuff, and then you move on to high school soccer, then you move on to college soccer, JUCO, Division II. Like, you just start making your way up, and then you start DMing all the soccer content creators in the MLS and say, hey, here's where I'm at. Like, what can I do to get better? Or is this something I could use to apply to any open positions you have? And if you do that for the next 2-3 years, like, you'll get an internship, you'll get a spot for sure. But the problem is people don't want to do that. Like, they want it now, they want it tomorrow, they want it next week.
Yeah, that's true.
And then all they want to do is ask me, hey, how do I go film the NFL? And I say, go put in the work. Like, I don't know, like, how do you film filming in the NFL is really easy. You just got to get a spot or an intern or a full-time role. So now how do you get that intern? How do you get that full-time role? Well, you have to be good enough that when you apply, you stand out and your reel looks good. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, next step, you just got to reverse engineer what you want and start at where you want and take it a step back, then take it a step back, then take it a step back until you're at where you're at. And then you have all the steps you need to take to get there.
I think that's the beauty and the curse of social media. The beauty of it is that you get to reach out so many people that you probably would have never even talked to if there was no social media around. But the curse of it is that you're always seeing people on social media doing the things that you want to do. And because people are usually just posting like their highs of their life, you feel like there was no work behind it to get there.
Oh, yeah, that's 1000% true. Like, social media is the reason I'm at where I'm at now. Like, my current bosses at Let It Fly Media found me because I would post my work from the Chiefs on my social media and kind of turn that into my portfolio. So they figured out, oh, that's the kid who's making that heat. Let's talk to him. Let's see if we can hire him away. Yeah. And they did. And like, I'm sure there's thousands of stories like that out there where like you meet someone or, someone saw your work on social and that's how they got their current position. But you're totally right about the con of that is like other people trying to get into this. They only see the cool stuff and they question like, why am I not at that point right now? Or, there's this college student who's the same age as me and he's shooting for freaking, I don't know, Juju Smith-Schuster or whatever. And like, why can't I do that? And what I say to that is like, you just have to take a step back and realize like we're all like everyone's on their journey or their path or whatever you call it. And social media just gives you a glimpse into that current timeline. But everyone's timeline is not lined up the same. Yeah. Like where I'm at now, maybe, towards the 60% mark, but where you're at right now, maybe more towards like the 15% mark. You just see me at 60 and then you see yourself at 15 and think, dang, like I can't do this. Like I'm not good enough or whatever. But really I was at 15, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
And 3, 4, 5 years ago, how old were you?
So currently I'm 25 years old. So I was in college. I graduated college in 2017. Went to University of Arkansas for 4 years, majored in broadcast journalism. And I picked up my first camera summer of 2014. So that was right before my sophomore year started is when I got my first camera.
Wow. And then in less than a decade, look at everything that you've done. And that kind of segues me to my next question. I see your Instagram. You've shot a Super Bowl. You've shot at major golf events. You've won 2 Emmys. So out of all of these incredible moments in your short career already, is there any one that stands out as your favorite moment so far?
That's a really good question. I think it has to be the Super Bowl. Like that's kind of like elephant in the room.
And the Chiefs won too.
The fact that it was the Kansas City Chiefs, like, so growing up, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm not from Kansas City, but after working there full time for 2 years, 1 year internship, 1 year full time, they became my favorite team because like I just got to know all the players, and when you're working for a team, you just know so much more about that team than you do your hometown team. I'm from Dallas, so I'm a Cowboys fan as well. So the fact that, you know, the year after I leave the Chiefs, I'm shooting for the NFL in the Super Bowl and the Chiefs are there as well. And the fact that they win it on that unbelievable comeback, and I'm one of the few credentialed media people to run onto the field and capture Patrick Mahomes right when the clock hits 0. Like, that was a freaking wild experience. Like, the 2 minute, once the 2 minute warning hit, and I was like getting ready to run on, and like we already knew we won, so like I was like, okay, it's go time, and like the clock just kept ticking down, and like you could tell all the media people around you were getting ready to run on. You could tell the players were getting hyped, like they did the freaking Gatorade bath for Andy Reid, like 5 yards from me. And it was just, you could tell the place was about to explode. And it was just an insane moment to like run onto the field and be one of the first people like trying to shoot Patrick celebrating and all the Chiefs players celebrating. So that's definitely been a highlight of my career for sure.
So you said you started doing video and actually practicing in college. So what made you want to pick up a camera and start doing what you're doing now?
Yeah. So, you know, growing up, I didn't really want to, I didn't know about this passion growing up. Like as a kid, I was just playing video games like everybody else. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So I kind of just followed everybody else's paths and kind of just did what I was told. Like, hey, you need to go to middle school. And then after middle school, you go to high school. And then after high school, you go to college. And then after college, you get a job. So I was just doing what I was told. And, you know, I came to college, University of Arkansas, and like I didn't even know that I could decide to go undeclared as my major for my first year. Like I didn't even know that was an option, and I would have done that, but I just thought that you had to have life figured out freshman year and you had to pick your major. So I decided some stupid reason that I was going to be an engineer.
Yo, me too. Me too.
So that was a huge mistake. Or not, like it led to where I am now. So maybe it wasn't a mistake, but like, you know, I decided to be an engineer, and the thinking I had was, oh, I kind of have some interest in like photography from high school. Like, you know, I remember seeing the high school photographer at the football games, you know, shoot. And I was always interested in how his photos turned out. So maybe I'll be an engineer, make a lot of money, and then buy a camera in 10 years and start that as a hobby and just do that on the side and just like practice, but have the safe job as an engineer and be set. So that was like my stupid plan as a freshman. And then engineering kicked my butt, and I just saved up enough money, because this was like the first time I started to make a little bit of money, because I got some side jobs as well. And I bought my first camera, and I was like, F it, I'll just buy my camera now and learn how to be an engineer and learn how to do photography or videography at the same time. So then that's the summer of 2014 when I got that camera, and I had a Quidditch tournament in Austin, Texas. So I was like, oh, cool. Like I'll bring my camera and like practice, like I'll break it out for the first time and use it there. And, you know, I didn't even have like a zoom lens, like a long lens. So I was like, crap, what am I going to do? I only have this wide lens, like the kit lens. I'll just use my rent money, go to Best Buy and buy a zoom lens, and then I'll return it after the tournament. So I went, bought the lens, went to the tournament, played, And then after my team got knocked out, I broke out the camera and just started filming and just started shooting. Had no idea what I was doing, but I was just like capturing footage. The tournament ended and I ran back to my friend's house where I was staying, got on the computer and just started editing. Had no idea how to edit. Like I was using the GoPro editing app. If anybody knows what that is, but back then they had like a software to put your GoPro footage together. I used that to put my Quidditch footage together. So not even meant for that, but cranked out my first edit that night and posted it the next day on Facebook just to say, hey, this is what I did this summer, or like this is what I did in Austin. And then it kind of blew up in the Quidditch community because there's a good amount of Quidditch people on Facebook, and everyone just started sharing it into like Quidditch groups, and like I got hella likes, hella comments for back then, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It probably was just like 100, but to me that was like, oh my gosh, that's a
lot.
lot of notifications. I'm not used to that. Like that was the first time I ever posted something and like it popped off, and that got me thinking like, okay, maybe I need to rethink this whole engineering thing, and I'll switch to camera and like being a content creator. So first week sophomore year, I walk into my engineering class and it's probably the hardest week of school of my life. Week 1, like I had no idea what my professors were talking about.
What class was it?
It was statics. If you know about that.
I know nothing about that.
I'm telling you,
yeah,
man,
it sounds crazy. It's like
my freshman
like the science
year,
of, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. But basically, I saw that my professor's name was on the textbook. Like he wrote it, and I was like, I'm screwed. So I literally opened my laptop in that class and Googled how do I change my major, and hit enter, and the rest is history.
And I understand what you're saying, man, because my freshman year I was going for engineering as well, and man, pre-calculus kicked my ass, man. Like it kicked my ass, and that was just pre-calc. I was like, if I'm struggling with pre-calc, there is no way like I could even get through calculus. And I got lucky too because it was during when COVID just happened. So, we were online. So I was just searching all the answers online, and we had tests like emailed to us. And I was basically just cheating my way through the class just to pass it.
Yeah. I remember thinking like, this math is really hard, and I'm not trying to do a 9 to 5 of trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, oftentimes people want to play it safe and do something like that. And the idea sounds really smart, but it's just, especially with the major like engineering, when it gets like when you get super deep into it, you really don't have enough time to do anything else.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was such a wild, how I got to where I am now is just so crazy because like that all changed in college. Like I didn't go to college knowing that I was going to do that. Like, heck, I didn't even choose Arkansas because of any real reason. I've never been to Arkansas. I've never been to Fayetteville. I never visited the camp. I never took a campus tour. Like I just chose Arkansas out the blue, like just to be a part of their marching band. And I knew nothing about the campus, but it turned out to be like the best decision of my life.
Wow. Creative fields can be super draining. And I just wanted to ask you, how many times did you doubt yourself that you can actually get to a high level with creating content? Because I know that it's a lot of hard work behind it. And what did you do to get by those doubts and overcome those thoughts of doubt?
Honestly, I don't think, I'm trying to think back, but I don't think I ever doubted myself. Like I think I'm a very logical person. So like if there's doubt, then I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to doubt myself, even if I'm not seeing the results, or like, because back then in college, I knew knew I had it, whatever it is. Like I knew I was good. I knew like I was not good back then. I was not. You can go to my YouTube and scroll back and look at my old videos. I was not good back then, but I knew that I had something and I just needed to work on it. Like, if you're setting out to be a friggin' football player, you're not going to be good week 1, but maybe you give it a chance for 5 years, you might be good after that, or 10 years or whatever. So I knew that's where I was. Like, I know my work doesn't show that I am good, but I just need someone to give me a chance. And I don't know if you saw this tweet on my Twitter, but I posted my spreadsheet of the 60 no answers / denied responses from other teams and companies that declined my application. So that was all throughout my spring semester when I was applying, and not a single time during that process of getting all those no's did I ever doubt myself. I was 100%. I 100% knew why they were saying no to me is because I didn't have the experience. I didn't shoot a single football game in college. Like, it was all Quidditch.
Wow.
So I understood that, I didn't have the access to, show on my reel, like if I could shoot football, but I knew I could shoot football because like I did so well with the Quidditch stuff that I just kept telling myself every time someone said no that they were just sleeping on me. Mm-hmm. And I just needed one person to give me a chance. And that was the Kansas City Chiefs. So went there 2017 for an internship, and then worked so hard to prove myself that they offered me a full-time position for 2018 season.
Wow, that's incredible.
So my next question, and this is one of the things that when I heard we had an interview with you, it was the first thing that came to mind for me, because you look at your Instagram and you see so many almost larger than life figures to any normal human being, like Patrick Mahomes, Tiger Woods, and all these other crazy athletes. How insane is it to work with them every day? And, does it ever lose its luster?
It's definitely, wild and like crazy cool to think about. But to be honest, like for me, like those are just, is like Patrick is just another guy. Like it's not, I try not to look at them through a lens of like stardom or like fandom, because that's not what I'm here for. Like a lot of people always ask me like, yo, did you get like Patrick to sign you an autograph or something? And I'm like, I haven't asked one of these dudes for anything. Like, no, like, well, that's not what I'm doing this for. Like, I'm not doing this to get closer to them. I'm doing this this is just what I love to do. And they just happen to be there. So, like it's a cool, like a couple of weeks ago, we were at Paynes Valley shooting and we got to interview Tiger, and he just enters the room and I'm just focused on, making sure all the equipment's working, the camera's going. And like it was crazy to think after the fact, like once he left, like, dang, that was Tiger Woods. But in the moment and like leading up, I'm just like, it's just another interview. Like I need to make sure it's recording. I need to make sure it's in focus. I need to make sure the audio's looks good. I need to make sure the lighting looks good. Like there's so many other things I need to focus on that there's no like starstruckness.
So after the fact, after that happened, there wasn't one thought where you were like, damn, I should have got his autograph.
Nope. If anything, maybe like a picture.
Yeah.
But I would never ask for like, hey, can I get a picture? But if anything, it'd be like a picture of us in the same room, just so I could flex on all of y'all on Instagram. but yeah.
Is there anything left that you're so young already, and you have knocked off so many achievements that people go their whole life trying to achieve. Is there anything left for you on the list that you want to check off?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. I mean, like Super Bowl is great and all, but it's only one Super Bowl. Like, why not 10 more? Why not the NBA Finals? Why not a World Cup, Olympics? Like, there's so many events and so many cool things that I could shoot. Like, I'm not even like, yes, Patrick Mahomes and Tiger Woods, those are big names, but like we've barely scratched the surface with those guys, let alone the rest of, like, what about Messi? What about LeBron? Like, what about OBJ? Like there's some bigger, like, insane things out there. Like all of it's out there. Like, and it's crazy that like any of it could happen. Like, I could get a call tomorrow that says I'm going to wherever to do whatever. Like, it could just happen. So I guess I'm not even close at the point of thinking about like what's left. It's more like
what's next?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, to a certain extent, you are shooting and getting to shoot the LeBron James of the NFL and Mahomes, because he is like the top of the top right now. Like, this guy might go down as the best to ever play when it's all said and
done. For sure. And like, I mean, I think about that sometimes, but like, it still doesn't matter to me. Like, it's just shooting and editing that I'm doing what I love to do. So I don't care who's in front of the camera.
So I was thinking, you're around these high class athletes all the time, and you're doing your job. Like you said, you don't even have time to think about the people that you're working with, but seeing them and the way they work, is there any parallels between you and them and the way they push themselves to be great and the way, you're pushing yourself to push out this great content?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I mean, as I probably saw this more when I was at the Chiefs and like around those guys a lot more. But again, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier about people's timelines and how they're probably at maybe the 100, the 90% or the 85% or the 100% of their peak. And I'm maybe at the 60%, the 65%, 70. So I know that they put in work behind closed doors to put them in a position to be where they're going and where they're headed and what they've done. So it is cool to kind of, have that side by side, especially during games too. Like, they're on the field doing their thing, I'm on the field doing my thing, and they help make my thing easier.
Yeah. So I just have one last question. What's your advice for up and coming content creators that want to get into the field? Just maybe in terms of practicing and just for them to stay motivated, whatever you have to say.
Yeah. Something I like to say is, like, for me, it's hard. It's like a simple equation: hard work plus patience equals success. So you got to work hard. Like, you can't sit on your butt all day and, complain that there's a pandemic, or like that you're not getting your chance, or that people aren't giving you a shot, or that your camera is not good enough, or that, all these excuses that people have. Like, you just got to see what your options are, what your variables are. And then that's the card you're dealt, that's the hand you're dealt. And you just got to take it from there. And if you don't, then it's not going to happen. And then the second part of that is the patience part. Like I said earlier, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next month, next week. It's not going to happen in 2 years. It's not going to happen in 5 years. It's not going to happen in 10 years. And you have to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'll happen in X amount of years when it happens, but you can't put a number, a straight answer on when it'll happen or when you'll be successful. You just got to put your nose to the grindstone and go to work. Like, there's no other options. I tend to look at life pretty black and white. Like, if you want something to happen, then you got to make it happen. But if you just sit there, nothing's going to happen. So if you're okay with nothing happening, then just sit there and, chill. But if you want something to happen, you got to go make it happen.
It's awesome.
Yeah. That is like the advice. You said it better than I could, because like you mentioned, 60 teams and groups and companies that said no to you, and now look at what you're pushing out. And I bet those 60 companies and teams are kicking themselves on the butt for passing up on you.
Yeah, it's like, what happened if I stopped applying at 61? Like, what happens if I decided to quit at 59 or whatever number it was? You're always one DM away, one post away, one project away. Like, you're always one thing away from either it happening or it getting closer to happening. And like, a lot of people they DM me and they ask, and like they say they're like scared to like put themselves out there, or scared to like, reach out and ask questions or whatever it is. And I get it. When I was growing up, I think I'm more of a shy person. Like I get being scared to like walk up to somebody and asking them a question, or like, I was always scared to like make a phone call to like book a doctor's appointment. Like, I never wanted to do that. I always wanted my mom to do that. But at some point, like, you just gotta like pick up the phone and call and like just explain like, hey, I'm just trying to make an appointment. Like, I'm not really sure how that works. Like, can you help me out? And it'll work out, because that's the person on the other line. That's their job to, get you booked. So like, what I tell people is I always shoot that DM. Like, even if they don't respond, then that's okay. You can move on to the next one. Like, I always go up to that person with the cool camera and say, hey, like, how do you like that camera? Like, is it cool? Like, is it good for video? Is it good for photos? And like, if they're rude or if they don't respond, then that's fine. Like, let them be rude. Just then it's not something you could fix. You just move on to the next thing. And like, so many people let so many things affect them, but you got to realize you can only control what you can control. So like, if something negative is happening, then say, okay, that was a negative. Let's move on to the next thing and try to get a positive. Like, that's where I think I separate myself from a lot of people, is because I look at stuff so logical, or like from that logos mindset. It's, if something good happens, great. If something bad happens, great. What am I doing next?
Mm-hmm. So that's all the questions I have. I don't know about you, Jack.
Yeah, no, that's all that I have.
All right, so we want to thank you for your time, and we want to also wish you the best of luck and the best of success in whatever you choose to do in the near future. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, and good luck with y'all successes too with your podcast. I'm excited to see where it heads.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And keep pushing out the content, because it's awesome stuff.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
All right, see ya.